Hello guys, this is me, your Justice analyst, Kirill. The Junior Eurovision 2024 has concluded, so now it's time to talk. What an interesting competition it was. First time using AI very heavily in the design and in the postcards. Also first time having this kind of strange way of announcing the jury points, also even placing the names of the countries kind of vertically and not horizontally as we are usually used to see them. Usually we have predominantly the female singers in the competition, maybe like 1-2 boys, and this year almost half of the lineup were the boys. So very, very different and untypical. But let's talk about each and every country, starting from the country which ranked last. It was of course San Marino, and going up to Georgia. Let's go. The girls looked a little bit lost on stage, not really synchronized, and vocally also quite unimpressive. Also performing on stage before Ukraine was definitely also a disadvantage for them, because you know Ukraine, this perfectly polished performance coming right after San Marino was like huge contrast. They received unfortunately just 1 point from the juries, and unsurprisingly from the Italian one of course. But truly mind-blowing is that they got the 12th place in the online voting, so actually the same result as Italy. So for me it is absolutely unexplainable that such a small nation with, I would say, such a weak performance can get as many points and so as many votes as Italy, which is such a huge nation with such a strong performance. But yeah, I think San Marino can be very happy with this result. So 12% of all voters have casted their vote for San Marino last night. They even got more votes from the online voting as Albania, which finished much higher. So 14% of all votes were casted towards San Marino, which is absolutely mind-blowing. So congrats to them, and I think they can be very satisfied with this outcome. Again, a very much expected result. The song is my guilty pleasure, I have to admit, but this live performance was just a mess. The vocals were sometimes quite off, the performance was both messy and empty at the same time, so there was definitely no way it can get even close to the top 10, but actually by the juries this entry was ranked 11th in total. They have received 5 points from Italian jury and 4 points from the Polish one, so unfortunately in the end it's the worst result of North Macedonia in the last 8 years. This was not surprising at all too. This busy, really unfitting backgrounds, trashy chorus, and at the end of the day in the jury vote Ireland finished even lower than North Macedonia, and they were awarded, for example, 5 points from Germany. And even if Enya actually got quite a decent support from the fan community online, she still managed to finish only second to last in the online voting, so really not a very high score. But at the end of the day, for Ireland, actually in the last 4 years, it's the second best result, so I really hope that they will stay motivated and will participate in the future in the Junior Eurovision. Really sad result for this amazing song. If you remember my predictions before the final, I put Estonia in this block of countries which will finish between place 10 and 13, but unfortunately it was even lower, so place 14 at the end of the day. I really like the song, but I think this live performance just didn't really work for me and presumably also for the others. So at the end of the day, from the juries, Estonia got just 7.3% of the maximum possible score, from which the half, their 6 points, were awarded by France, and they also received only 12.5% of the online votes, which is actually even lower than last year when they finished with 13.9. So for me this is really sad to see how much the Eurovision fan community was standing behind this song and how low unfortunately it ended up in the end. And Cyprus has actually finished vice versa, higher than expected, so I think Maria Pissarides can be very happy with this result. In my prediction I have put Cyprus in this group of countries which will finish between place 14 and 16. Now she finished 13th, so let's say if she and Estonia would trade places, then this would be still quite accurate from my side. I think the live performance was actually great. The camera angles, the dances, the background visuals, everything was absolutely great. except the live vocals. It was really hard to listen to this, I'm afraid, so let's say second to last place in the jury voting is very much justified. Interestingly, their highest score from the juries, 4 points, so almost half of their points, was awarded to them by Armenia, which of course has a very close bond with the Greek culture. But Maria did extremely well in the televote because she got 15.2% of all voters casting their votes for her, which also ended up in being in top 10, so 9th place in accordance with the online vote. So I think she can be very proud of this result, and I hope that Cyprus is there to stay. So let's start with the total placement of Poland. I think place 12 is very much justified and very much expected. I also told you already in my predictions that I think it will not do so well with the jurors, but I hope the televoters will go for it if they go for some kind of over-the-top staging, and oh boy, they have delivered. Just look at your screen. The last chorus with Dominik getting old on screen and then winking was just brilliant. Me and my friends were all laughing, and I hoped for Poland to finish well. Unfortunately, it is still the worst result of Poland in the Junior Eurovision Song Contest in the last 8 years. Poland has actually never received in this last 8 years less than 17.1% of the online votes, while this year it was just 14.6%. And when it comes to the jury voting, they have never received less than 35% of the maximum score. Well, there was one occasion with 23%, but apart from that, always 35% or more, while this year it's only 6.8%. And random fact, 8 of his 13 jury points Dominik has actually received from Portugal. So is it just a coincidence, or was Portugal trying to win this year? Maybe you remember I have placed Germany and Poland next to each other in my prediction video, so Germany a little bit higher, so one position higher than Poland, and this is actually where they ended up being. So Germany, as usually, did pretty well with the televote. They finished on a joint 7th place, so 7th to 8th place, with 17.3% of all votes casted for them, and also for the Netherlands. This was the country with whom they shared the score, while the juries have put Germany only on place 13, with just 7.3% of the maximum possible score they could have achieved, with more than half of their points just coming from one country, coming from France. Bjarne actually did really well. Vocally, he was quite strong. He had such a nice energy and charisma on stage. I just think the song was a little bit too generic, and I really hope to see Bjarne in the future in the Junior Eurovision Song Contest or in the Adult Eurovision Song Contest, just with a much better song. He deserves this. All we need is music in our lives. And now we are making quite a big step entering top 10 with the Netherlands, who got 28% more points in total than place 11, so than Germany, so it was not even like a close fight. And generally the top 10 was more or less determined by the juries, so which countries will end up there, because the gaps in the jury voting are just so massive that the online voting can just close them. So we all know that of course in the Junior Eurovision the juries have much higher impact than the online voters. But even if the Netherlands are in top 10, actually for them it's not a very high score from the juries either. They have received just 17.7% of the maximum possible score, which is actually one of their worst results in the last 8 years. They have however received points from almost all countries, and their highest mark, the 7 points, they have received from Armenia. But even their online voting score, so 17.3%, is still quite low for the Netherlands. It's their second lowest score in the last 8 years. The only lower one was in 2021, when the Netherlands have finished in the last place in total. But I have really enjoyed this performance. I think it was a very catchy song, performed really well, was such an energetic, child-appropriate performance. So if it would be up on me, I would have even put this entry into the top 3. But objectively, I think this result was to be expected. I have put them in my prediction video in the group 7th to 9th place. In the end, they now finished 10th, so one position below. But still, I think it's a good result that they can be proud of. So I think for Italy, it's quite an unexpected position. So this place 9 he really got in a very solid way, because he has gaps of around 20 places to place 10 and to the place 8. So he's really very safe on his 9th spot. He did quite well with the juries, getting marks from all countries except just 4, while his highest 8 points was from Armenia, and he also has received 7 points from Malta. So this is a very typical result for Italy in the last 8 years, both in the jury voting and in the online vote. They almost every year finish somewhere there. I think Simone has delivered a very good performance. This whole staging with this Pigiama party was really one of the most memorable ones. I have really enjoyed this. I think he deserved also maybe even higher position, even though it kind of fits to my predictions. For me, just still absolutely mind-blowing is the fact that he received the same amount of votes from the online voting as the Sammarinese entry. So this is the entry I got the most wrong out of all, because I expected to see Armenia on place 4 and now it finished only on place 8. But worth saying that it also sounded the most different in comparison to the studio version. I think Leo didn't really sound bad by any means. He really has hit all those notes. I think vocally he was really on point. Just was lacking some breath control. Some notes were also coming out a little bit flat in comparison to the studio track. Yeah, unfortunately we have this kind of another example to compare to where he sounded absolutely excellent, and that's why the bar of expectations was set up really high. So this year, unfortunately, it's time for Armenia to say goodbye to the top 3, in which they were very comfortably sitting for the last 3 years, because they had first place, second place, third place. Now it's place 8, which is still a very good result. Just, you know, for Armenia, it's rather one of their lower results in the last 8 years, but still an excellent one. Also very interesting to see is how dividing this entry was for the juries from the different countries. So for example, 4 countries have ranked him top 3. 4 additional countries have ranked him places 4, 5, 6. Then 5 countries have ranked him places 7, 8, 9, 10. And then 3 countries actually outside top 10. I think I forgot to mention that Ireland was also one of them, together with Germany and Italy. So still a very good result, just very interesting how dividing one entry can be. So Albania is really on a streak, getting more and more love from the juries each and every year. So in 2021, they got, for example, 20.8% of the jury votes. Then 1 year later, in 2022, it was 28.3%. Then the next year, 2023, it was 38.9%. And this year, Nikol Çabeli has managed to get an amazing result, 42.7%. So French and the Georgian juries were the only one who didn't vibe with Vallëzoj and gave it 0 points. On the other hand, the Portuguese one have really enjoyed it and gave it 10 points. On the other hand, in the online voting, Albania still didn't really find the recipe for success, because in all these last 8 years, they never managed to have more than 14.5% from the online voters. And this year, Nikol Çabeli has finished only, I think, 14th in the online voting. Extremely happy to see Albania finishing so high. In my prediction, I have put Albania on place 10, so she even managed to climb some more positions. But honestly, when I was listening to the song first time, I could never see it finishing so high. And Albania just has this talent, even with somewhat weaker song, they can climb so high. The final result of Spain is quite predictable. I have also put them in my prediction on place 5 to 6, and now they finished 6. So what is kind of surprising is that they didn't really score so high in the online vote, but on the other hand, they did much better in the jury vote than I have expected them to do. They got 41.7% of maximum possible score, getting points from each and every country except just Poland. And they even managed to get 10 points from Ukraine and Cyprus. I think performance felt a little bit messy, even though it was very colorful and captivating and, you know, giving us some good mood after quite a dramatic Georgian ballad. So I think today here we have to make a break, because otherwise the video will become too long. But part 2 is coming very soon. I hope I will post it already tomorrow, so just stay tuned and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.